Hello and welcome back to Home in the Earth. In this episode, we're going to build some internal walls for our earth-sheltered house using lumber layered with insulation, lath, and stucco, as per usual. We started with positioning this fiberglass tub surround. This is for the boys' bathroom, so easy cleaning with no cracks or anything is the primary objective. We started by attaching it to the floor using treated lumber and tapcons. And now let's plumb this thing into place. I'm using PVC for the drains and PEX for the incoming water supply. We're also stuffing a little insulation behind this surround. This helps keep the shower heat in, and it probably also helps with shower singing acoustics. Oh, those black bars happen because the work light, which is an LED, it flickers rapidly. The flickering is too fast for the human eye to notice, but the camera's rolling shutter captures different rows at different brightness levels, and that turns that invisible flicker into this visible horizontal banding. I noticed after this recording, and I just stopped using that light when filming. These curved walls are considerably stronger against earth loads than flat walls would be, which is why underground houses use them whenever they can. However, I'm trying to fit rectangular objects inside my house against these curvy walls, so I get voids. Sometimes I'll just stuff it with insulation or something like that, but on the right-hand side, there's enough room for a narrow closet, so I'm going to build that instead and frame that out. Again, I'm just attaching the treated wood blocks directly to the concrete with tapcons. Later we'll come back and put a pretty maple face frame over this so it looks nice. From here, I'll start to frame the wall. Back to plumbing. I'm a big fan of PEX. It's so easy to create connections, and I've never had a leak. I know it's not as pretty as copper, but it is much faster and cheaper. And don't worry, I'll be able to access all of this through the closet wall later when I need to. Even though my boys were still young at this point, I knew they were going to be tall, so we put the shower head higher than normal. The problem became apparent only a couple years after moving in when we had some rather short guests who couldn't reach it. My bad. I'm actually going to frame this as a 2-foot deep closet wall. Each shelf section will be large enough to hold 2 or 3 totes behind 2 doors. I wanted it to look like furniture, so I'm putting in a toe kick recess and starting the first shelf above that. I also plan to run lighting in this toe kick. This area is really the hallway to our bedrooms, the private area of the house. And around the corner on the right is a hidden closet. It's the one that has the secret tunnel down to the basement and elsewhere. And then around the corner on the left is the rest of the house, the public area of the house. So this is really the transition. And now we add the insulation. This is the 2-inch 15 psi XPS. It will provide sound and thermal insulation, but mostly I'm using it just as backing for the stucco. And yeah, I know I could get drywall for about half this price, but the moisture-resistant drywall is actually about 75% of this, so it's getting closer. Cement board actually costs more per square foot. I could have used a thinner XPS, like maybe a 1-inch board instead of 2-inch, but I have a literal truckload of 2-inch, so I got a bulk discount that made it close enough that it just wasn't worth going with thinner. So yeah, some other choice may work better for you, but this cross-section that I'm building up here, these layers, had enough extra benefits acoustically, thermally, etc., that I'm pretty happy with this choice. Okay, now we are looking in the other direction toward the laundry and mechanical room. The master bedroom is through the door on the right. Similar idea though, we want to divide off the laundry room with a 2-foot deep storage wall, and we're framing it out with 2x4s with a toe kick, etc. We are framing in bays that can hold 2 or 3 totes per shelf behind a pair of maple doors. You can get a sneak peek of that final cabinetry on our Facebook channel. There's a link in the doobly-doo. Now I'm connecting the 2 sides of this closet wall with the doorway framing. We plan to use stucco, so this needs to be pretty stiff to resist cracking. That blue box there is to attach a hall light. Structurally speaking, this whole area that we're in is a groin vault. It's a very strong intersecting arch configuration that doesn't need any load-bearing walls in here to support that earth load on top. The walls on the left, or behind the camera here, are the boys' bedrooms. I did put load-bearing shotcrete walls there to be extra safe, but we don't really need those either, at least not for purely structural reasons. Here I'm cutting the previous paint and stucco so I can add a layer that will cover the top lip of that shower insert. I'll probably tile it as well. That window in that cupboard wall is a deep medicine cabinet. Eventually we'll attach a mirror over it as a door. As you probably know, these 2x4s are actually 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches in real dimensions. So when I assemble them like this, I get a 2-inch deep channel on the one side that's perfect for taking that 2-inch pink XPS insulation sheets on the one side of that wall. And then that also leaves room to infill with a 1.5-inch thick EPS on this side of the wall. And this back-to-back insulation will improve the acoustic and thermal characteristics of the bathroom, but it was mostly there to provide a stable backing to make it easier to stucco the inside of these walls. We're using construction-grade plywood sheathing as the shelves. It's not the prettiest, but it's strong, it'll never sag, and we'll cover this with a nicer final surface eventually. The maple face frame boards that we're planning for are wide enough to easily cover the front of the 2x4s and that plywood edge, so you won't see it anyway. Stucco again. This is really the year of stucco. We did so much stucco. On the left side there, you can see that I'm closing up the back of the medicine cabinet with tongue and groove cedar boards. This gives us a very deep medicine cabinet on the bathroom side and still leaves a foot of additional storage space in the hallway closet wall. This little wall is to divide out the little mechanical room from the rest of the laundry room. And of course, I'm building it the same way as usual. Those black Sharpie lines are just to help me know where to place the lath lock screws later after all the insulation is blocking the wood. Along the top of the pink insulation wall, I've written the number of inches to the ceiling above each point. I do that for every foot along the wall, and then I just measure that same distance on the piece I'm adding next, and then I can cut pretty close to perfect the very first time. Basically, it's a XY coordinate templating for hard-to-reach concave spaces. This window lets us have some extra storage in the laundry room. I'll actually make it a pass-through so we can set the laundry baskets in from the hall and then retrieve them in the laundry room or vice versa. But first I need to install a perimeter frame for the stucco to go all the way up to. Back to the boys' bathroom, and we plan to put some tile up in that little transition strip above the insert. Typically, all of our stucco includes some thin set mixed in, gives lots of extra good properties, such as waterproofing and extra stickiness. But this batch is mostly just thin set for these tiles. I set the tiles into it and then clean them off while it's easy. And then Sherry gets going on the brown coat. I'm back to grout the tiles. This white will match the shower surround and the white walls that we'll paint later. I wonder if there could have been some better way to get uniform penetrating color that wouldn't have been paint. But we're pretty amateur and we know how painting works, so if you have any alternative ideas, let's leave them in the comments. Next video, we'll be back to build the last of the walls with the layers of insulation, lath, and stucco, and guess where that will be.